Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hello. It's me. I'm not a singer. So welcome to WTF Stories and Advice. I'm Caroline Cranshaw.
And I'm Daryl Gove.
And people write us letters and we read them and we give you our thoughts and 20 different possible scenarios of what we think you could do.
Exactly.
Because we are know-it-alls.
Yes, we are. And one thing that I know before we get started today, and it's just upset me so much I have to talk about it, is Pringles. And I believe that they've changed the recipe or something. The Pringles are smaller, they're softer. You can't use them to make a duck face by putting them in your mouth anymore. And all of the flavors are really, really bad and weak. Is that just me? Has my taste just changed, or have Pringles changed?
I haven't eaten Pringles in at least 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that you can light Pringles on fire?
No.
Yeah. Try that and then have another think about what you're putting in your mouth.
Well, these claim to be barbecue flavor. Like, I'm showing Caroline on the screen, barbecue. But it tastes like someone got a soggy chip and dipped it into a bit of barbecue sauce. It just tastes yuck. So setting fire to them can only improve their flavor.
Honestly, try it and they go poof and they disappear.
Really?
They are highly, highly flammable.
Okay, but if you're listening to this at home, do not try that and burn down your house. We are experts.
So I've heard. I have never burned them myself. I have just heard that you could do that. And they are horrible for you. So you shouldn't eat them. That's what you get, Daryl, for eating shit.
I don't usually eat these kind of things, but
No.
I'm up at my sister's house and I'm cat sitting. It feels like being on holiday because I'm away. So I bought all the things I don't usually eat from the supermarket last night. It was actually great.
All the things you can eat, not in front of your partner.
Exactly.
So true, isn't it? What we eat by ourselves is very different to what we eat in front of other people. My problem is my partner will eat anything and any crap. And he's a weight loss expert, of course, but nobody says no. I guess it's kind of like two gay men dating, right?
Nobody says no.
All gas, no brakes.
Well, gay guys do tend to get married by the third date, so yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. So we have a listener letter, don't we? That I have not read this one.
Yes, we have another listener's letter. Would you like me to read it out?
No, I'd like you to sign it. And I will try to interpretate it like charades. And hopefully people will enjoy the new concept of the show. What do you think?
I think that this type of humor suits you and you should do more of it.
Being a sarcastic bitch? That's my personality. I just have to stuff that down to be a therapist and be like, interesting, and not, no, I still am a sarcastic bitch as a therapist, just not at my clients. We laugh at other people together.
See, this is why you're so popular in the UK, because they like a bit of sarcastic bitch.
I think so.
So.
Okay, what do we have? Daryl has taken over the mailbox.
Yes, it's fun looking into that mailbox. But I do have to say to you, if you're thinking of writing in, I would request please to put things in some form of an order when you're writing. It really helps. So, hi, Daroline, or is it Carol? That's Carol with a Y, like Daryl. I quite like Daroline, yeah.
Daroline.
Caroline or Carol. I don't like Carol. It makes me think of The Walking Dead. I like the character Carol. She's like the boss, right? She's amazing.
I've never watched that show.
Really?
I lived in San Francisco. I got to witness it on a daily basis.
Not true.
No, it didn't used to be like that, but it is now. That's what I call it when people go, oh, you're from San Francisco? I'm like, yeah, it's now The Walking Dead.
I literally saw that on Twitter this morning. I watched a video of someone just walking down the street filming what they could see, and it really looked post-apocalyptic. But however,
It's horrific.
I don't want to use my real name, so if you don't mind, call me Queenie. Now, I don't expect you to be witches and solve all my problems with magic, but I would love some advice. I know sometimes you say, go get therapy, and I'm on to that, but I really wouldn't even know where to start. I want to tell you my story as briefly as I can, and although it has been and still is traumatic, I will do my best not to make my letter heavy in inverted commas. Though, I'll admit, when you guys laugh at the heavy stuff, I do laugh with you.
Nice.
That's good to know. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have written in.
Yeah. We laugh instead of cry.
Exactly. So you know tornadoes, right? Well, that is my life. I'm in the middle, and all I can see is shit spinning around, doing damage everywhere.
Sharknado.
Sharknado. I haven't watched that movie yet, but I really want to.
I haven't either. But it's the most ridiculous concept you can imagine.
I don't smoke weed, but if I did, I feel like that would be a movie to watch stoned.
I have a terrible phobia of sharks, so I'll pass on that. And I refuse to get over it. I don't want to get over my phobia of sharks because I don't want to get eaten.
Well, maybe it's one that keeps you safe. I don't know. I don't like sharks, but I quite enjoy watching shark movies. But so Queenie says, as you may guess, it all started with a man. Well, he identifies as a man. I identify him as a grown-up bully, a gremlin goblin prick.
So he identifies as a cunt.
Yes. Actually, wait till I read something later in the letter. That will.
Okay.
Okay. So 16 years ago, I met Rick. Rick the prick. He was charming in the beginning, very charming, and he's well-to-do. He knew exactly how to romance a woman and said and did all the right things to get exactly what he wanted. In the start, things were great. We had a rich and full social life. I had been this fabulous life of the party, and he wanted some of that light that I had. We also had a rich and full sex life. Yes, he did have the most weird mushroom penis I have ever seen.
Oh.
But I'm not judgmental when it comes to genitals. No, I wonder if that's true or if she's just...
What kind of mushroom, though? I'm like, is it a portobello? Is it like some of those psychedelic mushrooms? There's one, it's something called a penis mushroom that's psychedelic, apparently.
Maybe it's like a lion's mane and it's all like long and thin.
Oh.
Or
okay, we shouldn't shame dicks. All dicks are beautiful unless they're not.
No, but unless he's got some STD and it's covered in mushrooms.
Oh, or warts.
Is that a thing? It's probably a thing.
Hey, you're basically a loser if you don't have HPV.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah, all the cool people have it.
That's what I tell people to make them feel better.
So, it says he has the most weird mushroom penis I've ever seen, but I am not judgmental when it comes to genitals, which is nice.
I am. So go on.
You are. Sometimes it's more like if you love someone, you're not judgmental, but if you get a good one, you're like, oh, phew.
Thank the Lord. Praise Jesus. There is a God when you get a good dick. But not everybody can have an amazing penis.
Well, it's the law of relativity, isn't it? For some to have an amazing one, some must have a mushroom weird one, which in relativity, somebody else might love that.
Exactly. If you have a short, wide vagina, that'd be perfect.
But it's not good enough for Queenie. So in hindsight, I can see he wanted a trophy wife. Yes, I am tall and quite frankly, by anyone's estimation, completely gorgeous.
Go you.
Gotta say I love her self-confidence. I didn't see it at the time, but right away, he was starting to condition me to how he wanted me to behave. I had thought he loved me for my personality and humour, but it became obvious by his attempts to shut me down that this was not the case. It was heartbreaking, and I didn't want to see it. One time, for example, we were at a party, and I was talking excitedly about one of my interests to the wife of one of his colleagues. He literally put his finger over my lips to stop me talking, grabbed me by the ass and pulled me away to reprimand me. I was too in shock to do anything about it at the time, but now I wish I had told him where to go. Ooh, doesn't that make you angry?
I had a partner who used to have the 5-minute rule, that's what he would call it. And if I was talking to a man for more than 5 minutes, then I was disrespecting him, and he would stand behind me and tap his watch.
What? Really?
And I could be talking to a man in his 80s. I remember being at some party, and there was, like, someone's grandpa there, and we were talking about hypnotherapy, and he came up and started tapping his watch and said, "It's been 5 minutes." Didn't go down well with me, but yes, I understand that type of man.
Well, it's not only disrespectful, but to you as women, but it's also like, I mean, that must be exhausting. Imagine every time at that party that his girlfriend or you start talking to somebody new, he has to start the timer again. So, start again. Start again. That's 1.5 minutes. 4 minutes. She's moved on. Oh my God. How insane must his life be?
There's a story I could tell, but this isn't
Go
about
on.
me.
Go on.
Oh, okay. I went to this party with my partner at the time, and there's lots of people I knew there, lots of women, and I went up and was like, "Hey," and the women turned their back to me. And I was like, "It's a bit weird." I tried to talk to them, and they wouldn't talk to me, and I was like, "Oh my God." And so I go over and start talking to this woman who's lovely, real sweetie, and I say, "People are acting really weird." And it was Christmas time, right? It was a Christmas party. And she was like, "Oh, well, probably because your Christmas card that your partner sent out." Have I told you this story?
I feel like I've heard it. I don't think you've told it on the podcast.
I think I've told it on the podcast, but I could be wrong. And I'm like, "What Christmas card?" And she's like, "Oh, the one your partner sent out." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "You don't know?" And I said, "No." And she's like, He sent out a photo of you naked, just in a."
I don't
Yeah,
have idea to hear this.
I am not fucking kidding you. Just naked, laying naked on a bed with just your panties. And I was like, that was not me. And I was like, can you forward me that? She's like, he sent it to all the guys. And I was like, it definitely wasn't me unless he drugged me, and I have no memory of this. And I said, can you forward it to me? So she, like, the next day forwarded me the email, and it was this picture of I'm very flattered that they thought this photo was of me. Wow. Of this blonde woman laying topless on a bed, pulling her panties up across, and like the angle goes so you can see, and it says "Happy Holidays" written across these panties. And he said, and it took me a little while to get the lighting and the angle right, but I think I did pretty well. Merry Christmas. And people thought it was fucking me. And so
Sorry, that's funny.
at the time, I did not think it's funny. Now I'm like, God damn, they thought that was me. And that woman, it was obviously a model with a flawless body. And so I said, can you please tell the other women that was not a photo of me? And so they thought that him and I had colluded and had sent out this naked photo. Like, you could see the woman's breasts and everything out to all the men in our social group. And so all the women were like, whore.
Oh no. Oh
I
gosh.
know.
Oh no.
So
I mean, I'm laughing because I'm just very visual, so I just
and he could not see that he had done something wrong.
because he thought it was a
Like,
joke.
yeah, he thought it was a joke. He didn't think anyone would actually think it was me. But and luckily, I don't think we broke up after that. So not because of that, but soon after anyways. But I had a whole group of women who hated me and thought I was just like the whore of Babylon because I was sending out topless photos of myself to all their husbands.
Yeah, that wouldn't win you the popularity contest. I can see that.
Yeah. I wouldn't be so appreciative if a woman in my social circle was sending out topless photos that my partner was getting. I'd be like, "Slut, back off." Not that I want to slut shame women. Now I'd probably be much more impressed, be like, "Go you."
I can't even fathom that dynamic. But so there are some men who treat their women like property. and
pretend to send out nude photos of them to their friends.
Or want to control who they talk to, when they talk, and how they talk. And, that obviously for Queenie should have been a warning sign, like a really, really big red light. But however, she said, so many years and 5 beautiful children later, go you with the 5 kids, I slowly came to the realization that Ricky didn't love me. And of course, I fell out of love with him. Well, that's what happens, isn't it? We stopped having sex, and I was sure he had at least one woman on the side. To add to this, he had become gradually more abusive over our marriage. This was abuse on me and the children: physical, mental, emotional, sexual, financial, reproductive abuse. Reproductive abuse, like whether or not you can have kids?
Well, an interesting side fact in New Zealand, and this has only just been changed, I think in 2020, is if a woman's partner did not want them to terminate their pregnancy for any reason, even at the risk of the mother's health, they had a say.
Mm.
And so maybe she didn't want to have 5 children, but you could not get an abortion without the permission from the father in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in this case of Queenie, whatever's happening, I mean, we don't know the situation, but
Mhm.
by the words that she's using, it was not what she wanted. And she
Yeah.
felt pressured or forced into doing something. And that's just not a good place to be. And on top of that, there was all the other forms of abuse. So, of course, as she continues, I needed to leave him. And I asked for a divorce. And it turns out I did care about his weird penis after all. Well, yeah, that's the thing when you love
Weird
somebody.
Dick Rick.
that's
Or
what we'll call him.
we call him just Weird Dick. Yep.
Or
Rick could be
Weird
Dick.
Dicky Ricky. Weird Dick Rick. He did not want the divorce and continued to be abusive while we stayed together in the family home. So 3 years ago, I had had enough. I went to the police and got a protection order, which meant that he had to leave. But he simply refused. He sent a letter to my lawyer, and in it he said, as the master of the house, I will keep the master bedroom. What a jerk. He liked a bit of BDSM in the bedroom, but I got fed up with that when he didn't respect my boundaries. One time, when I was tied up and on my stomach, he tried to put it where he knew it wasn't allowed. I pushed him with my legs so hard that he flew back into the wall. What kind of dickhead doesn't respect boundaries like that? He really thought he was the king. I'm sorry, have you got a visual image of that?
I do. I've actually done that to somebody.
Have you?
Kicked him right into a wall. It's amazing how powerful your legs really are. And another reason to motivate me to do squats and heavyweight leg presses in case I ever need to kick a man into the wall again.
Excellent. You guys should be friends.
Do a workout. Imagine that, like a trainer. Okay, press. Imagine pressing your ex into the wall across the room, kicking him off you. And then you're like, "Roar!" You find that extra.
Excellent. See, this is why exercise is so important.
And weights.
And weights. So he flew back against the wall. What kind of dick doesn't respect boundaries like that? Well, Weird Dick Rick is the kind of dick that doesn't respect boundaries like that. So he really thought he was king. I was going to say prince, but if I say prince, I imagine Prince Harry. And if I imagine Prince Harry and BDSM, I imagine that it's Meghan that ties Harry up and tells him what to do.
100%.
Yes.
I mean, hey, you never know. I've had clients quite into BDSM, and I'm always kind of shocked at who's the dom and who's the sub.
master?
Yeah.
But you know, with Meghan and Harry, it's only a matter of time before he writes a book about it or puts it on Netflix.
Oh, I would so read that too. I feel sorry for them. And I know that's.
I feel sorry for the mentally ill as well. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why everybody hates them so much.
It's because they're liars. They have such double standards. It's like, oh, we hate the media. Leave us alone. We hate the media. Leave us alone. And 2 seconds later, Here's my 6-part documentary telling you everything about my life.
Didn't South Park that did a thing of leave us alone tour, privacy tour.
Yeah, that's the worldwide privacy tour.
They
We
are
want
so
privacy.
funny. I know I'm always doing this, aren't I? Sidetrack. We have to do a podcast on The Simpsons and the conspiracy theory with The Simpsons.
Yes, you've said
And
that before too. We should do that.
because so many things come true. But I heard this, it was, of course, on TikTok, but they were talking about how they think that The Simpsons are the tools that the Illuminati use, or the vehicle that the Illuminati use to warn us of what's coming up.
Because once they've warned you, they're allowed to do it. Because they've
Yes.
given you warning. You can't say that you didn't consent because you were told what was going to happen.
Apparently, that's like the rule with like Satanists or Illuminati people, is that they have to tell you what they're going to do. So apparently, The Simpsons is a vehicle for that. So I need to start watching The Simpsons and taking notes and seeing what's going to happen next. Don't they say World War?
Well, you go and watch this. I don't know, but I think Lisa's going to be president, so that gives me hope. No, because she'll be woke now.
Oh.
Yeah, so damn, I used to like Lisa, but she definitely will have gone woke. Bart for president, or Homer, he would be great. Free donuts for everyone. But we digress.
Okay, yeah.
We'll come and visit that one. So Prince Harry, she definitely seems to be the boss. Harry, if you're listening to this, I'll put my 8-hour cream in your penis, and I promise you, it will not remind you of your mother.
What?
Do you know about that?
No. What?
You see, I think you still like them because you probably haven't followed the news. But so in his book, right, Harry, which obviously I haven't read.
I haven't read it.
Because I never would bring myself to read something like that. There's one famous, it was all over the news, it was everywhere, where seen in the book, where he gets frostbite on the tip of his penis.
Yes, I did hear that.
And so he gets his mum's Elizabeth Ardern 8-hour cream, and he opens it to put it on his penis, but he's like, and I'm going to put the cream on my penis, and I just get a whiff, and suddenly I can just think of my mom and remember my mom as I put it all over my penis, or something like that. Don't sue me if I quoted it wrong. But he puts it together like his mum's there while he's doing it, and it's just so like Freudian Oedipus weirdness.
Well, I think if he really was that hung up on his mother, he would have married some blonde Diana lookalike.
But he's got a Diana act-alike. She's trying to be like Diana, like, oh no, we had a car chase and we almost died.
Mentally unstable. I heard about the car chase, and if you've ever been to New York and Manhattan, there's no chasing because you're in traffic all the time. So how did that happen?
I just really don't believe anything that they say. I think that they lie, but I could be wrong, and the whole world could be out to get them. And I wouldn't put that past some of the higher ups. And I don't believe. Well, I don't know. Maybe they were followed for 2 hours in New York. That could make sense. They might have gone 3 blocks.
And what happens if you stop? If it's paparazzi, just like flip them off or something. You know what I mean? Like walk into somewhere where they can't go.
Yeah, if it was me, I would just put my boobs against the window. You want a photo? Take a photo of this.
I'm gonna read his book now.
Okay.
You're like, don't buy it. Don't give them any money. I could hear what you were thinking.
No, I was actually making images of finding you dead of boredom.
Oh, I'm going to read it.
Let's do a Harry and Meghan podcast as well in the future. You can be pro and I will be anti.
Harry's contortions against the hold of the tabloid media give it an air of a psychological thriller, unlike anything we've ever seen from the Windsors. Vanity Fair magazine.
Wow.
I'm hooked. I'm going to read it, and I will tell you about his frostbitten todger. His frostbitten chode. Okay. With his mommy's lip balm on it. Oh, God. Okay, I digress. Go on.
So I promise you, it will not remind you of your mother.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm no wilting flower. Well, I think we've gained that knowledge. And so, of course, I went back to the police. Thankfully, we do not live in feudal England. But unfortunately for me, NZ was almost worse. Jacinda's ridiculously strict lockdowns happened right at that time. This meant that he couldn't leave the house, as moving house was not allowed, nor was leaving to go to another home. I was stuck with my abusive husband, even though we had only a few cases of COVID in the whole country. I will never.
We locked down for one.
I think it was one. It was one case.
One. And I had one client who was in an incredibly abusive relationship at the time and had a session with her, and we locked down that night. And I was so terrified for her that I was just beside myself. It was so bad.
It's I obviously won't give any details, but I also had clients who were in relationships that they needed to leave, and they got stuck. Ended up being for more than just the lockdown, because the time passed, if you know what I mean. Like, there's a time when people are ready to get out.
But we were locked down for how long? 12 weeks or something? It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's crazy.
I think we weren't out until January, was it? When could we go back?
Well, so the first one started in March, and then there was another one and another one, but
yeah. Okay, so she's stuck with the fucker.
so she's stuck with him. She says, I will never, ever forgive Jacinda for that. I'm absolutely sure there will be women in my position who lost or took their own lives due to not being able to escape their situation. Yeah, I can see that would be the case. So Rick was so used to being in control that even when the lockdowns ended and the police came to enforce the protection order to make him leave, he refused. They needed to go away and get 6 big tattooed policemen to carry him away. And since then, I will admit, I have a bit of a fetish for policemen. I'm tempted to go and commit Well, they're the heroes, right?
I remember, I know I keep telling my own stories. I remember when my daughter was 2, I was at a friend's house and we were going to give the kids a bath. And my daughter locked herself into the bathroom with a full tub.
Oh.
And it was like a sliding lock, so you couldn't unlock it from the door. And I'm freaking out. There's a full bath. And so my friend called the fire department, and it was like a hot summer night. I just remember this fire truck, and they all had no shirts and suspenders on. So these ripped firemen come, and my friend goes, "How about there? Would you like a drink? A cold drink? You look very hot." And yeah, she's like, blah, blah, blah. "You want a beer? I got some beer." She's like, "Oh my God, Caroline, look at them." I was way too distressed. Then she just unlocked the door. I got her immediately and came out. And my friend's like, "Have a beer. Hey, you guys look really too hot. This is like this." I'm like, "Shut up."
Okay, so what suburb was that in?
That was in Glendowie in Auckland, New Zealand. But
Ooh, I'm going to go to Glendowie and I'm going to take my sister's cat and put it up a tree and get it stuck and then call the fire brigade.
You could just come over here because it's the same fire department, and I'll tell them that you have a vacuum cleaner stuck on your deck because they're the ones who come with like the cutting tools.
Oh, good to know. Maybe that's why there's so many stories.
And then they'll get there and I'll be like, "We got it off. Don't worry." But you might want to just check Daryl's dick, and just in case, I think he needs it examined by a big, strong, shirtless fireman.
Great plan. Oh, we're taking that too far. I was just thinking more about seeing the hot firemen in their suspenders.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm back.
You're back. So we're with you with the men in uniform, the first responders, Queenie. So yeah, quickly, did I tell you about the policemen in Madrid?
No.
So I remember like not noticing them at the time, but they're all there in my memory. I was just fresh into a new relationship with my lover. But I was there with my mom and a couple of girlfriends, and they literally were like slipping about everywhere they walked in Madrid, because all the policemen in Madrid, Spain, they were incredibly buff with these tight-fitting uniforms.
I've seen pictures. Oh my God. They must have the uniforms custom made to be real tight around the biceps and the chest.
It must be, and there must be some kind of like Abercrombie and Fitch. They used to invite you to apply for a job because you had to have the look, meaning you had to be incredibly hot. It's probably like that. They probably go around Spain going, "Where are the incredibly hot people? Do you want to apply to be a policeman? Do you want to apply? Do you want to apply?"
My partner's an ex-cop, and every now and then I'm like, "Put on your uniform, babe."
Oh, does he still have one?
Yeah, he still does. I remember when we were first together and he dressed up in his uniform for us to go trick or treating, and I was just like, "We need to go home and get rid of these kids. I've been a bad, bad girl, and I need to be handcuffed immediately." No.
Well, if it is my birthday next month, I could have another costume party.
Mm.
And then you guys can, like, not turn up because you get distracted by the uniform.
No. I don't know what it is about a man in a uniform.
Well, Queenie says, I'm tempted to go and commit a crime in front of one of them, just so that I get my turn of those big manly hands.
Uh-huh.
They were all so deft at squeezing his bulk into their police wagon. It was a joy to watch. Now, I'm assuming that they mean his body bulk and that the police wagon is not, in fact, a metaphor again.
I think you look too far into metaphors.
I see dirty suggestions everywhere.
Everything is a double entendre with you.
Everything.
We are hypnotherapists, so everything's a metaphor to us.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, the drama did not end there. The stress and drama from what came next spilled into my daily life. Stress hormones became my daily perfume. While waiting for the divorce mediation, I became anxious and depressed, put on medication, and lost many, many kilos. And after we sorted out the finances, he then sued me for custody of the children, and this time I reacted the opposite way and put
Oh.
on many, many kilos.
Oh.
It's such a horrible story, and it's just like every second client in my clinic is going through something similar. It's unfortunately, it seems that when divorce happens, and I don't know if this is universal or if it's just the people I see or it's just New Zealand, that the men seem to use the kids as and it can be the women as well, but the men will often be intending to work full time, but still want to have major custody, not for the benefit of the children, but just to piss off the wife. That's what I've found.
And what women need to know in New Zealand is there's not a huge difference in child support between joint custody and full custody. I think a lot of men will go for joint custody thinking they'll have to pay a lot less in child support, but that's actually not true. There's not a huge difference between the two for exactly that reason. Because if one partner is making much more than the others. But apparently, they're trying to introduce a law in New Zealand because a lot of people, I won't say men necessarily, use the courts as a way to continue to abuse their ex
Mm,
partner. And they will
yeah.
sue them and keep taking them to court for trivial, ridiculous things. And the court, at the moment, with the way the law is written, has to honor it. And so apparently they're making it so that if it's seen as what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Malicious.
malicious intent or ridiculous, that a judge can throw it out, which seems crazy that they don't have anything like that in place.
Yeah, I feel like the judge should be able to throw things out if it can see that it's just like malicious litigation or whatever you call it.
Exactly.
Paying the lawyers was a giant bucket of stress. And as we hadn't settled yet, I had to pay them out of what I earned in between taking care of the children. All the while, I'm stuck in the house he would abuse me in. The court ordered us to sell the house and split the proceeds, but he wouldn't, and he would not engage with the estate agents. He refuses offers that are made and basically refuses to sell. He knows that he can wait me out financially in court. Now, that wouldn't be so bad, but our house is a leaky home. And probably we need to give some context here, because in New Zealand, they built, I think in the 90s mostly, but they built thousands and thousands, where there was a big property boom, and they built all these homes all over Auckland and the country, which were basically Mediterranean homes. They were designed for dry, hot climates. And in New Zealand, what happens is they're just not built right, and they leak and they cost hundreds of thousands to fix. Like, it's sometimes more expensive than building the house.
It's a huge issue. Part of the problem was they were using untreated wood, so the wood was rotting. And like you said, they were doing these very Mediterranean looks or real box square type of houses with flat roofs, and we have constant rain.
People who buy it have to have enough money in their bank after they've bought it to have something like a few $100,000 left over in case it needs fixed. Otherwise, the bank won't give them the mortgage. So the only people that can afford to buy these homes are people that already have a lot of extra money, in which case, why would they choose that kind of home?
Exactly.
So it's tough to sell, and you really need to work with your buyers to make a deal. So if somebody just doesn't engage, I can just only imagine how stressful that is.
Surely she could go back to the courts now and say he is not. Can't they put some type of, if he's refusing to engage with the agents and declining offers?
I think she does say something about that, actually. So she says, paying the lawyers means I can't afford maintenance. I fill the washing machine with a bucket by hand because I can't afford a plumber. I have windows that will never shut. Luckily, they're too small for a burglar to climb in, unless the burglar's a gnome. The pièce de résistance is the raw sewage that has been overflowing into my property for 2 weeks. Can you imagine? The upside is that this perfectly reflects how I feel inside. Oh, hon.
Oh, that's hard. I'm sorry that that's happening to you.
That must fucking like that would just be the worst. That would just be the worst. Unless you can find a way to dry that raw sewage and wait till he gets a new house and sneak in and sprinkle it about his carpet so he can't see it. And
No, raw prawns into car vents works really well. Or if you like sew them into the curtains. What else?
Yeah, definitely some kind of revenge smells are needed. Well, I'm not the type to let him get away with all this. I'll admit I have been acting a bit crazy lately, thinking of legal ways to get back at him. The most recent is, oh, look, here we go. I forgot about it. She has been doing it. Is I peed into a spray bottle and sprayed it all over the legal documents I'd sent to him. His lawyer.
That's really making your mark.
You're visual too, Caroline. In my visual mind, I'm going, now, is she well hydrated and it's just like damp, or is she dehydrated and it's dark yellow?
That's exactly where my mind went as well. You'd have to be very well hydrated, and that urine would have to be quite clear. Now, there is a person who I know in New Zealand who, for maybe the price has gone up now, but for $1,500, he will make a visit to your ex and he will never be a problem again. He won't kill him, but I have referred this lovely gentleman to several people, and their problematic exes have ceased to be an issue for them and became very sweet and accommodating. And some of them even left the country like the day after this man had a talk with them.
That's really handy to know. I have a feeling that you will get an email about that.
If you would like his contact details, just let me know. And it's funny. I had a friend who used to be the head of a bank for insurance, right? And she had a very problematic ex-partner who she had dated. And I was like, oh, you just need Phil's number. And she's like, I know Phil. Are you talking about? And she described him. I'm like, how do you know Phil? And she's like, oh, when we were having a real problem with the gangs stealing cars and stealing things, we had him to go negotiate. He sorted out $1,500. She's like, I'd love to know what he says. And I'm like, me too. I've met him before. I just about shat my pants when I met him. I was like, don't hurt me. Because he looks like ZZ Top on steroids.
Now, we're not promoting something illegal on this podcast, are we?
No, well, I don't think he does anything illegal.
He just could be good at persuading.
I don't actually know what he does. I'm not promoting. He doesn't beat them up. He doesn't touch them. He doesn't. I don't know what maybe he threatens them. I don't know. But I know that the difficult people become very compliant and are no longer a problem.
Interesting.
I think he's just a really good negotiator.
Well, I think, because I don't know him, I'm going to say stick to your peeing in a bottle and spraying it on his documents. And his lawyer replied asking why they were damp, and I told them that my house is damp.
Surely they would be dried by the time the lawyer got them.
It depends how much she sprayed on them.
Just dip them in the toilet.
But you don't want the pen to run, do you?
Or they would stick together as well.
And then they have to lick their finger and pull them apart. The universe must also hate him, because coincidentally, around this exact time, somebody scratched "I am a CUNT" into the passenger door of his Audi convertible. I wish I had thought of that. Good old
So it
therapist.
sounds like he's being a CUNT to lots of other people.
Yeah.
Or at least one who's pissed him off.
Or she's did it and she's not admitting it.
No, could be.
Yeah. Let's not accuse you of that.
I think, she should have put in, I have a weird dick. Want to see?
Yes. But no photos because revenge porn is highly illegal.
Yeah, no. Just carve that in. Yeah. I've had clients that have had. Okay, finish the story because I keep.
Okay.
Like, people must be like, shut the hell up. Let him tell the story. Fucking. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Tell the story, Daryl, and I will talk afterwards.
I'm trying therapy, but I get re-triggered every time I have to talk about his weird behavior. A lot of the abuse happened in the bedroom, and I will keep that part of my life private. Though one day, I know I can write a book about the weird sexual fetishes of the mushroom dick man. If I ever do...
Weird dick Rick.
Weird dick Rick. Yeah, that's what you have to call it, okay? If I ever do, I will ask you to review it and promo it on your podcast.
100%.
Yeah.
We will.
We will. Like, send us in a draft even, and we'll promo it. We'll get you pre-orders.
But again, you want to make sure you're not committing libel. So what you do is you make it a novel.
Oh, like a fake story.
About
if I did it.
I know. That's so crazy. If I did it, what was it? This is how I would have killed her. What was the name of that?
What was his name? O.J. Simpson. Yeah. So today, here is where I am. I'm going to court to get them to enforce the arrangements that they already made. I'm now using my retirement savings to pay for this. I'm bringing up our children, working and maintaining the home all on my own right now. And to top it all off, yesterday I found out that he took a life insurance policy out on me. I mean, what the fuck?
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know if that's recent, she hasn't said, but if it's because it's something that's common, like to have an insurance policy on your partner, so if something happens to them.
But they also won't insure a woman in New Zealand for more than $1 million because apparently it puts your chances of being murdered up like 10 times.
Really?
The more money you are insured for, the more likely you are to meet an untimely end.
Yeah, so side note, if you're at all worried about that, then go and speak to someone. Just mention it to it's a good excuse to get in touch with your nice policeman and just get some advice on that. I'm assuming it's just something that happens or something to scare you if it's recent, something just to make you creeped out, but that shouldn't be okay. That shouldn't be allowed. So don't sit on that one.
Surely you can go back and say, I'm afraid he is going to take my life and I am not comfortable. Or make it so that whatever funds he receives has to go into a trust for the children. I don't know if he even could do that, but
no,
if he's well off, then what the hell is he doing anyways?
That's the point. I don't know how well off he is or what's going on in his life, but what I would say is if you're at all scared, if you're at all have any worry at all, then go and speak to your local friendly Bobby, your friendly policeman. I know you can't fix all of this for me, but I would really love some advice on how to deal with all the anxiety that this has led to me feeling. I can't even fold towels without the image of them flicking, reminding me of him. Do you flick your towels when you fold them?
No.
I don't fold towels. I don't know.
How do you put them away?
What do you mean?
You do not put them away? Do you not fold towels and keep them in like a laundry?
When I get towels, they appear in the cupboard all rolled up in a special way. And then they go in this basket in the laundry. And then they just reappear in the cupboard.
So Juan is doing all the towels. Well, I should not be one to talk because Grant folds all the towels in our house too.
So I'm sorry, Queenie, but we don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's obviously true. He must have whipped her with the towel. He would have flicked her with the towel. And so therefore,
he was into his BDSM. So I'm actually feeling like I'm lost at sea and I can't see land. After all this, I'm still a positive person and... Sorry.
What?
I'm just laughing at the towels. I don't know why. Okay. After all this, I'm still a positive person and very much aware of energy and such. I would love some advice, be it legal, personal, professional, how to deal with anxiety, or just to tell me that we care. Fuck that guy, Queenie.
Fuck that guy is right.
Fuck that guy. And unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. So we won't be able to give you any advice, but see you next week.
No. Okay. I think, first of all, you need to energetically do a clearing or healing on yourself. And what I find helpful is you can imagine you've got like a cord coming out of the bottom of your feet, going right down to the center of the earth. And you can imagine this white light pouring through you, and just any energy that doesn't belong to you is disconnected, washed down that cord down to the center of the earth. Or you can imagine, you can do that, and then imagine that they're there in front of you and there's a cord going from you to them, and you can just pull that cord out, and either they can go down in that cord at your feet or they can float off in the distance. Energetically, you need to unhook from him. And yes, he is trying to make your life hell, but I think that I'd put it out there that you want his karma to go back to him. I'll have clients that people have done terrible things to, and I tell them stories about how people who did terrible things to me, there's 2 in particular that died. Not because I killed them.
And not because you sent Phil round.
Not because I said Phil round, but the universe just took care of it for me, shall we say. And the only time I would ever kill anybody is if they were literally trying to kill me. I don't believe in capital punishment, except if you hurt one of my children, and then I'm going to fucking kill you. I just think that there are energetic ways to send people's karma back to them and ask the universe, I don't know, to give them anal cancer or penile cancer. Or I had one client who was sexually assaulted by somebody, did not want to report it. And I'm like, well, what do you want? She's like, oh, well, he plays cricket, which is a game over here. And I would love for him to be hit in the balls and dicks so hard he can never get it up and do this to anyone ever again. And I was like, okay, we'll put it in. I'm sure I've talked about this in the podcast, haven't I? 2 weeks later, and I just told her some stories about people who had done terrible things to me that had met with unfortunate ends or endings. And 2 weeks later, I get a phone call of her going, you're a witch, you're a witch. He's in a hospital right now. He's been hitting the balls with a cricket ball. They're talking about surgery. And I'm like, there you go, darling.
See, Queenie opened with, I don't expect you to be witches, but actually you're wrong.
We are witches. Surprise. You have to remember the law of 3, right? The law of 3 with witchcraft is, and not that I practice witchcraft, but
you said that exactly like a witch. You
not that I'm a witch, but I read a lot of
I practice.
I even had to have a wart removed from my nose. No, I'm just kidding. It was skin cancer. I used to tell my girls that, oh, it's just a wart because I'm a witch on my nose, but it was skin cancer. So you don't want to be like, they need to die in this horrible way. It's just all you do is ask for their karma to be returned to them and to be taken out of your life. So I wouldn't be specific exactly what you want. No, you can if you want. This is just fantasy, right? This is just visualization of ways of making you feel better. But just ask for their karma to be returned to them and for the universe to get them out of your life, or having them be acrimonious or attack you, or just ask for the universe to take care of it. Oh, that's so funny that there's a cat now sitting right in front of the camera.
That's so fun. I don't know. One will kill you.
Oh, look. See, I think that is a sign.
Oh my gosh, she's just scratched the bloody my partner made me this beautiful sound screens for when I'm podcasting.
That's so funny. Talking about that though, and your sister's cat, because Daryl's cat sitting, comes up and starts clawing at the sound shield that you have and ripped it, didn't he?
Yeah, he ripped the sound, but he sat on the laptop between me, the microphone, and Caroline,
and started ripping at the screen. There you go.
Do you know what else? Earlier on, when I was reading the letter, and I just had to type a couple of notes on it because some of the vernacular I didn't quite understand. The cat came and sat on the keyboard and started typing a reply. Yeah, earlier, and it's not done that before at all. Yeah, the cat he comes up for a hug from time to time. I think that's a sign. That's definitely a sign.
Very interesting. I think put it out there that you want this guy to leave you alone. Maybe, you know what would be really cool is some sexy little Latina comes and leads him away. Or I don't know why I'm saying Latina. Some sexy little vixen's going to come and distract him so he's not even thinking about you, but she is going to get her hooks into him and bleed him dry of money.
Well,
It might not work out for your kids.
your kids will always be fine, as long as they have you in their life and to love and protect them. And here's the way I think of it is we don't want to think of life as having winners and losers, perhaps, but there are. And you're the winner because you're a person that's looking out for yourself. You're a good person. You're doing what you need to for your kids, for your home. And this is really, really tough for you right now. And it fucking sucks. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through it. And also that it's been so fucking long. Like, that's a long time to have all this shit going on. But at the end of the day, you get to move on and have a happy life. Like, you get to move on and find someone with a normal penis or a weird one, but you love it. And he is going to be stuck being a dick. He's going to be stuck trying to control the next woman and the next one. He's going to be stuck trying to screw people over whenever something ends. He is never going to be happy. And so you send him karma, but he already is living in hell. Because how can he be happy being such a dick? Nobody will really like him. The only people that like him in inverted commas will be people that are trying to get into his power, money, or that he's tricked and who are going to see through him sooner or later. So I would be celebrating right now. Like, even though you're in the middle of it, I'd be like dancing in that sewage going, yes, yes, yes. This, even with this sewage going through my garden or my home, even carrying those buckets up and having a draft through the window, my life is still infinitely better than his because he is such a see you next Tuesday perspective.
And I got divorced and had to sell my house and move into a very bad neighborhood, into this shitty rental. And I was very upset and devastated. But at the same time, I was like, I am free. And all the money was tied up because we were fighting over it in court. So I couldn't access any of the money from the house. And I remember going, I need to get out of here. I am over this. My kids couldn't walk around the neighborhood. It was so bad. And then one day, the sewage got all blocked up and it literally exploded shit all over the driveway.
Oh.
And it was shit and tampons. It was like the whole driveway flowed with all this shit and tampon. And it was so disgusting. And I remember I couldn't call someone over to see all these tampons. So I had to sweep them up and all these turds. And I remember being so upset. But then I found another house literally like the next week and got the hell out of there. And all of these really positive things came into my life after that incident happened. And I think sometimes the universe explodes a bunch of shit all over your life so that you go, I've had enough and I want to move on. And I remember that and being so upset and sweeping all the shit. And the neighbors are like, what the hell? We had like domestic abuse going on at the neighbor's house. It was just terrible time. But everything shifted after that. So maybe it's just metaphorically this massive release of sewage, this shit that you've been hanging on to, and now you're starting to let it go. And unfortunately, it does tend to manifest in our lives in that way. But I think there'll be a shift after this. And the other thing is, I know I said send them all back as karma. And my first instinct is always like, die a painful, horrible death. But I think also a really important thing, there's a Ho'oponopono, which is, it's a kuna practice, like Hawaiian kuna spiritual practice. And there's a whole story behind it. But this one guy practiced Ho'oponopono in a mental institution for the criminally insane that he worked at. And like within 3 years, this institution was shut down. And they were like, what techniques did you use with the patients? Like, what did you do? And he's like, oh, I never saw anyone in person. And they're like, what? And he's like, oh, no, I just practiced Ho'oponopono. And so all I did was I sat in my office and I put my hand over each file of each person. And I said the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you, which is the last thing you want to say to someone who is like trying to make your life hell. But it's based on the premise that we are all connected, that we are all one. And it's clearing karma or animosity or issues out of your consciousness and the collective unconscious, and then hopefully out of theirs as well.
Don't we do that in the 5-day Change Your Life course?
I I think we do. Yeah.
I think we do. Can we put a link in the
Yes,
description?
definitely.
It's free. It's a little bit old, but it's got part of the 5-day Change Your Life course is the Ho'oponopono prayer. So you can do that, and Caroline will talk you through it. One of the other things I was thinking as well is, because you mentioned anxiety, right? Like it's giving you a lot of anxiety. When all this stuff happens, it feels like it's your whole life. It feels like it's everything because it's where you are, it's what you're doing, it's what you think about, it's what you worry about. And sometimes, like getting out of your own head by doing some new things, or you probably don't have the time or energy for volunteer work, which is what I will often prescribe. Just, you could be helping animals or helping at a homeless shelter, something just to change the direction of your thoughts and the flow of energy, and to, when you see the smile of someone that is grateful to you for what you're helping them with, it can really, really help. But has taken a lot of time, and it's probably going to take more time. So thinking about how do you actually pass that time, and I'd say everything that you can do that gets you out of there, that gets you away for cheap weekends, to friends' houses, making some plans for the future, just really getting excited about life. Like, imagine this was just what life was like for everyone all the time. How would you build a positive life in that circumstance? Like, what would you do for fun? What would you do?
And it's worse than that for a lot of people every day.
Exactly.
Isn't it 70% of the world have dirt floors, they have no money in the bank, they can't read. Like, there's a huge population that is illiterate, that they don't have a home, they don't have clean water,
But
they don't
they do
know.
have electricity now in Wales, so that is being turned around.
Stop. But I think also, yes, things seem really hard, but put it in perspective. You don't live in a mud hut. You don't have to worry about your children dying of dysentery from contaminated water, hopefully. There are some positives.
But I can imagine the anxiety is probably not coming from the living conditions, but maybe more from the threat. Just she mentioned the trigger of him, like he was abusive, there was threats, and she still has to have contact with him, which is I think you said about earlier about when people leave relationships, that sometimes the abusive ex will keep them in court as a way of keeping abusing them. And it's about finding strategies to deal with that as it happens. Like, 100% keep doing your therapy, try some hypnotherapy, and really, you've got to go and basically clear those traumas out so that you don't get triggered when it happens. But before you clear those traumas, maybe you need to make sure you're resourced. So there's probably a lot of work to do. I don't think it's necessarily going to be easy. Start with orienting yourself to perspective. You're in New Zealand, you're in a good country. There is help and support. Even if this bankrupts you, the state will take care of you and it will feed you and your children. Like, worst case scenario, you're going to live.
The other thing I thought of, it sounds to me like she's got PTSD, right? And when you've got PTSD, it's really interesting. The latest studies are showing that when someone has PTSD, when they describe their traumas and they're getting triggered, it's the right hemisphere of the brain that's activated. And so, a thing I've been doing with clients that I find helpful is doing things to clear the trauma, or just listening to hypnosis. If you go to Mind Body Health Hypnotherapy, which the link is down below, there's free hypnosis tracks you can listen to, or like the 5-day challenge. But what I'll do after I've done a session with them, is I'll get them to cover their left eye, and I'll have them describe what's happened to them, but what they've learned from it. So putting it into a new perspective, and the reason why, and then how they're going through their days moving forward, feeling good
Mm-hmm.
and being strong and powerful. And because when you cover your left eye, your optic nerve from your left eye to right brain crosses over, and it quiets down the right brain. And so it's activating the left brain. And so we want you to process this in a very logical way. Yes, this has been hell, but you've got gorgeous kids. You are alive. You are living in a country where you have resources and support. And you are going to be so strong after this that you will know that you can get through anything. And the more we can create meaning and purpose from our traumas, the more we'll be able to get over it. And like, I know for myself, and I know Daryl feels the same way, we've been through terrible traumas in
Mm-hmm.
our lifetimes. We've been through terrible divorces, both of us.
Actually, my divorce was great.
And
No,
well,
it was super easy. I've been through other bad breakups, but yeah,
traumatic breakups. Yes. Okay. You're just showing off, Daryl.
sorry, but it was a great divorce. Yeah, it was the best one.
That has made us be able to relate to people going through bad times, to help people deal with their relationship issues. And so maybe you're meant to be a therapist. Maybe you're meant or a healer in some way. And so you are going to be able to help other people get out of abusive relationships and have the strength because you have done it. And you have gotten out. You're still dealing with the aftermath, but you've gotten that fucker out of your house and you're not having to look at his weird dick every day anymore. And like for that, you've got to be grateful. And I think you don't have to continue. Like, I would just make sure there are systems set up so you're not having to communicate with this person directly and that
Yes.
there's some type of buffer between you because that is completely unfair to expect someone who's been abused by someone to continue to deal with them.
It's another big problem if you have someone that you can communicate via. And another thing about the anxiety, and I'll go back to what Caroline was saying about the logic brain calming down the emotional brain. If you think about your amygdala as being like the trigger, so every time you see that towel flick, this alarm goes off in your head and says this is dangerous, danger, danger, danger. And so your body gets worked up. You feel it in your heart. Your breathing changes. You go into fight or flight. Now, there's two main ways that you can calm that down. One is to put in the good thoughts. So do the eye patching, covering the eye, do some EMDR, do therapy, all of that kind of stuff. Tell yourself, I'm safe. But the other way to do it is to work on the body first. So going getting a massage, going lying in the sun, having a holiday, doing things that calm your body down so that your body tells your brain that it's safe. And I recommend going from both angles. If you can afford it, go and get weekly massages if you like them, or do whatever self care it is that shows your body that you're safe, that you're cared for, whilst you do the brain work. And that combo is really going to help with your anxiety.
Yeah, I think if she can't fix her plumbing right now, I don't know if she'll be able to do weekly massages at the moment.
Well, that's a good point.
Start fucking a plumber. That's my advice. No.
Or do swaps because, like for example, in Auckland, you can get a $10 massage if you go to the massage school.
Yeah.
And so you can go to another place, and if it's the right time, that the students will do that for an hour, and they're still brilliant. So even if you're totally broken, if you can't afford it and you tell them, they'll probably give one to you. And then on the other hand, look for someone you can swap with, but you can do it on your own. It could be foot baths. It could be buying some Epsom salts for $3, or just having a bath without salt if you've got the water for it, or going to the beach and getting in the water. Like whatever it is for you that relaxes you physically, go and do it. Even if it's just some yoga and stretching on YouTube, watching, like, I'm sure if you typed in, I don't know, policeman in his underwear doing yoga stretches on YouTube, you'd find something. You could watch that.
And grounding yourself as well, like just putting your bare feet on grass or earth, it takes a lot of the inflammation out of your body and it can be very calming. Like I have been incredibly stressed lately. I haven't had a day off in like over 2 weeks, which is my own fault, but I love what I do, so I can't stop. But I was getting so stressed out. I was getting chest pains. And my lovely partner was trying to pull the computer away from me, which I was like fighting him for it
I can.
because I was having such bad chest pains. And it's not a heart issue. It's purely stress. And he's like, just lay down on the bed and I'm going to put some classical music on and I want you to just listen to it. And I was like, that's not going to work. Nah, 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 nah. And he did. And it was like, the pain went away and I just calmed down. And I was like, I think it is stress and I just need to stop and listen to something calming. And it was so simple. And I know this already. Like I tell people how to manage their stress all the time, but we forget, right? So just finding those little moments. But I really would start trying to practice some gratitude and everything you're grateful for, even if it's just that you don't have to look at his weird dick anymore. Like,
Mm.
thank God for that, and you are so strong that you've taken the steps to get away and you are going to be free of this man. And my gut is very soon. Obviously, you're still going to have to deal with him because you have children, but you're in the tail end of it.
Yeah, if you went into the past and looked forward, you would see yourself right now as being free. Like, although it's really, really hard as compared to where you were, you're free. You're not with him. You've left. And if you go really far into the future and look back, you'll see this as a formative time, like a time when you learned something you did not want to learn. You had to go through something you did not want to go through, but you will be grateful for it. I promise you that. I promise you that at some point you'll go, do you know what? That made me who I am. And I fucking love who I am. And I'm awesome. And you're going to be free, and you're going to be even more beautiful, and your children are going to be amazing, and they're going to think he is a cunt because he is. And that's all I have to say about that.
And watch some movies where women have overcome that. Like I think I talked about last time, The Color Purple. But that's a great one for women overcoming and getting past an abusive relationship. But the other great one is What's Love Got to Do with It? The story about Tina Turner.
Who just died.
Yes. Just tragic. I saw her perform live. I dated a guy who had a scalping ticket business when I was like 21 and got to see her front row center at a concert. And I think it was in Sacramento in California. I could see up her skirt. I saw Tina Turner's panties.
Did
And
you?
her legs were amazing. And she must have been in her 60s at that point. And actually, no, she'd probably be in her 50s. Now that I think about it, because I was 21. But she was in this horrific abusive relationship and she broke free and he no longer had power over her. So I think watch some stuff that'll inspire you and help you know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and you are just at the last shit part of it and it is going to get better.
And when it gets better, write and let us know. We love you. We're sending you all the love and support and all the love and support of all of our listeners. And yeah.
And it's going to be okay.
Going to be okay. You're going to be awesome. You're the queen.
Yes. So on that note.
And if you would like to, if you have made it through this record longest ever WTF Stories and Advice and want to write us a letter in, you can write to wtfstoriesandadvice@gmail.com.
And give us a review or share this with someone that you think might find it helpful. And we've got lots of resources in that 5-day challenge, which is on our website. And I'll put a link into that and some downloads as well. But know that you are not alone. And it's okay to reach out to people, even if it's just us. But I think reach out to the people around you. You'd be surprised at who wants to help you. And if they don't, then that's information for you too. And reach out to better people or find ways of connecting with more people. So hopefully that helped. And we have some other letters we need to get through, but we always want some more.
No, we are doing it regularly. So get those letters to us. And we hope to help all of you feel more amazing. A quick note, if you are suffering from abuse or you're worried about your safety, then please take action now. Call the police, call Women's Refuge, get some help. Don't wait for us to respond to your email. Just look after yourself, guys. And we love you.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
Aside from my soul.